Hi, my name is Beth Green, and I'm here to talk to you about spirituality and ego. Now, let me begin by talking a little bit about what spirituality is supposed to do in my world, in my definition. Spirituality is supposed to connect us deeply to ourselves, deeply to one another, and deeply to the universe. We feel our oneness. It's like, oh, when you're a child and you first went out and you saw the stars and the black sky and you felt like you were part of something grand, something big. This is a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Now, what does the ego do? It does the opposite. Ego gets us connected to the narrowest sense of self we possibly could have. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the purpose of the ego is to help us to take care of ourselves. It gives us a sense of self-definition. These are me. These are my needs. These are, And when we're born, we have become separated from the mother, which is like the first time that we leave that vast universe and become distinct and individual. And all of a sudden, we're cold. We need someone to change our diapers. We're hungry. All that stuff that we just took for granted, when we were in the womb, suddenly becomes a need that we have to demand attention. We have to let people know what our needs are. And our egos are that sense of self that is separate from the oneness. Now, do we need that ego? Well, yeah, sure we do, because we have to know when we're cold. We have to become aware of our individual selves. But unfortunately, what happens is that the ego just kind of takes over our whole perception, and we lose the sense of connection to everything else. So as we develop from infancy on, our egos are in charge, and they are part of our survival instinct that says, oh, if I'm cold and I don't put on a sweater, I could freeze to death. Or I'm hungry, and if I'm not aware of it and I don't make my needs met, I won't eat, and so on. So the ego is very associated with survival. What happens is we become completely dominated by it. Well, that's the ego in a nutshell. And it really, 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 really then starts to dominate our lives in some awful ways. We get into roles to get our needs met. We become the sweetest, the nicest, the smartest, the most colorful, the most extravagant, the most guilt-provoking, the most smart, the most talented, the most whining, the most helpful, whatever, so that the people around us will overlook their needs and take care of ours. And that's what the ego does. It develops strategies to get other people to take care of us. So now, what does it have to do with spirituality? Everything. Everything. Because that first urge towards spirituality is that sense of the divine, of the infinite. I am a part of everything. And the ego is anathema to that. The ego says, no, 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 it's about me, it's about me, it's about me. Now, we can see how this plays out in our society in general. If I'm only worried about me, I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to want to work as little as possible, to make as much money, or impress the boss, or whatever it is that I think I need for my needs to get ahead in my career. And the heck with the company, the product, the customers, unless, of course, making the company look good makes me look good, or taking care of those customers becomes 5 points in my favor, and suddenly I'm going to get a raise, right? So our whole perception about what is needed in any situation is very limited when we stay in egoic consciousness. I want to sell my house for as much money as possible. I'm not asking for divine guidance. Who is coming to buy my house? What do they need to buy it for? Is it right for me to sell it to them? What does God want? What is it that the universe wants? If I want to go get a job, it's about, oh, this is about my income and my children, or my esteem, or my boredom, or my feeling anxious, or whatever it is. It's not like, who is it that would be best for that job? So you see, as we go through our lives with this egoic consciousness, it keeps us very narrow, and it also keeps us very anxious because we're living in a world based on fear. I am really in the struggle, and I need to get my needs met by any means necessary, and most of us don't even realize how dominated we are by our egos. So we come into our religions, and guess what? Our religions and our spiritual systems get hijacked by the ego too. Well, it only makes sense, doesn't it? If our whole worldview is egoically based, how is it going to be any different when we're in religion? Now, you can say, well, my religion teaches us unity and oneness. Oh, really? Why don't you look a little deeper and see how true that is, not in the abstract, but in the concrete? Now, if we look at the history of religion, we could cry, right? Because we have the Catholic Church torturing people. We have the Protestant Church burning people at the stake. We have people who claim to be Muslim beheading people and oppressing women, all in the name of religion. Now, I ask you, what does that have to do with oneness? It has nothing to do with oneness. It means that we have egoic agendas, and we use religion as a cloak for our egoic agendas to make us look good. Now, part of our problem is that our religions themselves, many of them, are based on an egoic separation between God and humanity. God is great, humans are sinful, all we have to do is believe this or pray that way or do this, and we will be saved. What that has to do with spirituality, I have no idea. I mean, I thought spirituality had to do with a sense of oneness with the universe. I thought it had to do with connection. I didn't think it had anything to do with sin. In fact, I thought it had something to do with the connection with the divine. I am connected to the divine. In the early 1980s, I made some tapes. And the first tape was about the healing of God. And the words that came out of my mouth, because I never know what I'm going to say until after I said it, I just tune in and just trust. And the words that came out of my mouth were that God is no further from me than the nose on my face. Because God is the nose on my face. Because together we are God. It's like we in the oneness are God. God is us. And what we refer to typically as the divine consciousness is the highest level of awareness and consciousness that we are even capable of connecting to. Now, when we look at the Old Testament, we see a lot of revenge and jealousy and stonings and eyes for an eyes and tooth for the tooth, and mixed in with some beautiful psalms. It's like the Lord is my shepherd. But see, the Lord is my shepherd. He's the Lord. I am the sheep. This is all based on separation. See, why do I say this has to do with ego? Well, ego is based on separation. It says, I am different from you, therefore you must take care of me. Or, I am different from you, therefore I must take care of you so that you will take care of me. But it's always based on separation, separation, separation. And the first egoic separation that so many of our religious and spiritual teachings start with is the separation between humanity and God. We are obviously disgusting, and God is great. Or some have flipped it around. God is great, and so are we. So that is not exactly, I think, what God had in mind. That's all ego. See, this is proving I am so valuable, you should take care of me. And then I am willing, when I'm talking to God, I'm willing to say that I'm scum, and then I go mea culpa, and I bang myself on the chest, and then God is supposed to forgive me, and then give me something in exchange, which is heavenly life forever. See, for me. When you think about it from the perspective of the oneness itself, then you can see that everything is an aspect of that oneness, and we're all evolving together. So there is no perfection, there's no imperfection, and there's no me and you, distinct entities. We are like one living organism, like the cells of the body make up the oneness, which is God. So when you start thinking that way, you really begin to realize that I experience myself as separate and individual because it is true. I have an experience of I'm cold. But in fact, we are all connected. And how do we start living from there? That means that our religions must stop teaching separation. Our religions teach egoic separation. We have the one true religion. We. Who gave us that mantle? Or Muhammad is the last prophet. Who said so? Why would God stop speaking with Muhammad? Or through Jesus, you will be saved. Why not just have a direct relationship with the divine? Separation. We are so low that we can't even have a relationship with God. We've got to have an intermediary because we're not with God, because we are so disgusting. And then we get so incredibly pompous and egoic about how bad we are, because that's also part of it. It's like, I am the scum of the earth. Amen, sister. That's pretty out there, guys. That's making me look like I'm some kind of a hero because I'm saying that I'm disgusting. I could go on and on and on about how the ego has hijacked spirituality and religion. What about all these religious wars? How can you ever justify a religious war? What does that have to do with oneness? You know, to give Islam credit, the Prophet never suggested that we should go out killing people in order to force them to convert. That is not in the Quran, by the way. But everybody has done it. What it is men want to have their egoic, what is the word? Advantage over women, right? Get me my dinner, woman. They want to feel powerful. Why? Because they feel like nothing. They feel like scum. They feel oppressed, whatever it is that they're feeling. Or they have to prove something, or they felt that their father humiliated them. And they're trying to get back some sense of power. And how are they going to do it? Well, by abusing their wives and their children, or lording it over them, or being wiser than they are. Now, you codify that with religion, and you say, the church is telling you that women are the handmaidens of men. Now, you tell me that God said that. Don't you even think it. God never said anything so nonsensical. Or that whites are better than blacks and blacks can be enslaved, even though the church allowed that and said it was fine. We use religion to justify our self-centered agendas. Even when they look spiritual, they always have that little twist. I will be saved if I flagellate myself. I will look like a great being. I am emulating Jesus by being this way. And wow, doesn't that make me great? Better. And it all comes down to the ego that says, I am unique, I am separate, I am alone, I need to find some edge, some way of getting others to give me the resources that I need in order to survive. So the humble church has taken how much money from the impoverished people? For the glory of God, we really need these cathedrals. We really need gold on the walls. For the glory of God. For the glory of whom? And it starts with our relationship with the divine itself. Spirituality is supposed to connect us to that divine energy. It's not giving us an excuse to use the divine energy as a cloak for our hidden or not so hidden agendas. I feel jealous towards my son, so I will beat him senseless because he's not listening to the Lord. Oh, come on. Give me a break. Or I have sexual feelings towards my daughter and I don't know what to do with them, so I'm going to call her a slut. We're so confused, we're so in pain, we're so scared, we're so afraid of the universe, we're so afraid of the struggle that it takes to survive every day, and we don't really have much faith. Now, some people specialize in faith. Okay, I am so full of faith. I am so trusting of God. God the Father will take care of me. Did you notice anything? God the Father is going to take care of me. First of all, God is not my father. Thank God, God is not my father. And God isn't sitting there saying, how can I take care of you? No, it isn't like that, guys. The universe operates by certain laws. It is going through its own process of evolution. We are part of it. God does not exist to protect us. The Lord is not my shepherd. And I shall want. But if I attune myself to that divine consciousness, I will have a chance to live with reality in a state of grace. No, I don't want to live with reality. I want the world to be organized around my needs. And darn you if you get in the way of that. And the heck with you if you get in the way of my excuses and my rationalizations and my self-justifications. You question someone's religious beliefs when those religious beliefs are corrupt and anti-God. You question them and you will hear a lot about it. Because they have God behind them. What would God say if God were here, which God is? If God saw the way we use spirituality and religion to make ourselves look good, to deny what is real, to justify our exploitation of others, to justify our oppression, to even justify our own self-hatred. What would God say? God would say what I'm saying. What the heck does this have to do with spirituality? Recently, I read an article that some guys in Mississippi are trying to make the Bible, the good book, to be the official book of the state of Mississippi. I thought that was the Constitution. And their justification is that they feel that if people lived by the Bible, they would be better people. The first thing we do is oppress other people who are not Christians. Because they told us it's a Christian state, I guess the Jews and the Muslims and the atheists and the agnostics and the Hare Krishnas and the Hindus and the Buddhists and the Wiccans, I guess they don't live in Mississippi. Nobody in Mississippi exists but Christians. It's a Christian state. And I thought the basic message of the good book is do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Excuse me? Is that what you would want others to do unto you? Cut you out, dominate you? Where is the kindness? Why isn't that money that's going to be used for all of the suits so that they can wrap themselves in Christianity? I don't know, what are they trying to do? Compete with the Islamic State? That we're going to have a Christian caliphate in Mississippi? Is that going to solve the world's problems? But they really mean this sincerely. They're trying to be good Christians. They think they're being good. That has nothing to do with God. That has nothing to do with religion. That has nothing to do with spirituality. And that has nothing to do with right way of being towards yourself and others. It is just the opposite. If you really, really think that the Bible is going to help people, why don't you pull out the parts of the Bible that are not full of violence, vindictiveness, judgment, and all that other disgusting stuff that the Bible has in it as well. And why don't you teach yourselves and your children to do unto others as you would have others do unto you, and make that the state religion? God does not want us to use God's name in vain. And that means in vanity. We must truly look inside. Look at every belief we have, every practice we do, and ask ourselves truly, does this support the evolution of consciousness? Is this really making us better people? Better in the sense of more devoted to the divine consciousness, more devoted to the well-being of the whole? Does this bring us together? Or is this just ego? If you like anything that you have heard here today, please go to my YouTube channel, Beth Green TV and Radio, and watch some of my other videos. I have a recent video on delusional thinking that you might really enjoy. I have a music video called the Mystery Trilogy that brings you into that divine consciousness. I have many, many videos. I also have a radio program called Inside Out on voiceamerica.com that you can listen to every week, live, 3 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays. You can call in, you can talk to me. You can go to my website, bethgreen.org, and see the many ways that we could work together. I offer private consultations, very brief ones. I offer groups. I teach consciousness boot camp. I have a community called the Stream Center for the New Spirituality, where we're teaching ourselves to be better people and to free ourselves from the domination of the ego by being absolutely honest, doing our healing work, and combining common sense with spirituality. Check it out. And feel the chi.